Hello folks, this is Rex, CEO of Ouroboros Absolution, and a member of your friendly neighborhood iCore. Today I wanted to take some time to go over industry taxes and to describe some of the changes that the iCore has upcoming with proposed tax policy. One thing that we recently discovered is that very few people in the Alliance understand the industry index. It's kind of a problem, and there's some pretty wild misconceptions on how this affects total build price. So, wanted to go over the iCore's current thinking. Um, we spent a lot of time with this, thinking through the system owner, the station owner, the line member, the industry person that's involved in this process, um, what the costs associated are. And we tried to consider this from everybody's point of view and what's ultimately fair. Ultimately, the Alliance wants to avoid situations where there's blatant blue effing. We kind of want to avoid that. It's not cool, but at the same time, you kind of have to really look at what exactly is blue effing. And when we look at industry taxes, it's really hard to determine where that fine line is, because most of the costs nobody has any control over. The system station owner is actually very marginal on the final build price. So what we're going to look at today as a baseline for this experiment is we are going to look at a dreadnought build for a revelation, and we are going to plug that into several systems across the region, and to then also look at the tax rates that are actually being charged in those situations. And you're going to see some pretty wild numbers that have really no impact at all on the build cost. So the screen I have open before you that you're looking at is the industry window. You'll see that the facilities tab is open, and all facilities, all activities, current system. We're just going to go ahead and change this a little bit. We'll set it to within 5 jumps, because that should cover most everything I need. So here we are in I-30, and Bushmill Assembly here is our station that we build capitals in, and we're just going to tab over to here on this, and you'll get this handy dandy little pop-up. Now, one thing that I believe is new is that they show you the rig statistics for the job modifier on this. So if you're looking for a decent place to build in the future, you want to check out what rigs are where for industry. Having the screen open and looking at the information is available to you. Now, this system cost index is huge in what we're talking about right now. This modifier has everything to do with the final build cost of a capital build. And the tax that a station owner is having charged to the builder is very minimal in calculating this. So, but in short, looking at this in layman's terms, 0.99 is a really cheap system index. And here is OP tax. If you will notice, the system cost index in OP tax is 3.11. That is going to make OP Tech extremely expensive currently, just currently, to build the same capital. Now, let's actually break into the numbers a little bit more, and we'll see how this looks. So, here we have the snapshot. As you can see up here, it's got the station in it. You can see that it's a revelation, and we're looking at building, and you can see all of the taxes. So here is NC TAC. The estimated item value will be the same at all of these listed, the EIV. You'll see the cost index at 1.25 for that particular system. Means that the builder is going to pay 20 million ISK that goes mysteriously away to Concord to do whatever it is that they want. You'll see that the engineering complex bonus reduces that amount a little bit. You get the job gross cost. The facility tax is at 10%. Okay, so here you have the mean owners and NC Tech charging 10%. But you'll look, that 10% is not on the actual estimated item value. It's not calculated that way. That's actually a small amount, 1.9 million on a build price. So if you're looking at this, most of the cost of this is being calculated off of the system cost index. Now let's look at some other examples. So this one, 10% tax, total actual out of your wallet build cost on the final build is at 21 million. Here's eFICO. Oh my god, look at this asshole. He is charging 50% tax. Well, even at that 50% tax, it's only half of what the system cost index is. So again, the system cost index is the main driver of cost on these builds. And system cost index goes up as more items are constructed in a system. So if you're in a very high build system, it's gonna have a high system cost index. So on this, in spite of the fact of a 50% tax, and he is making 10 million per build, so there's a little bit of money there. I mean, comparatively though, when I consider the taxes that are calculated through ratting, that's actually a pretty low tax per tick. Total build cost 31, we'll call that 32 million. So 32 million, 20 million, he's 10% above, or 10 million above NC Tech. Let's keep looking. No, here's JU. TMI's system, 28 million for their build. They've got a 5% tax and 1.3 million. So we had an NC Tech. There was a 10% tax that came in kind of close. So 5%, 10%. The actual value ISK-wise, pretty much the same. We'll scroll back up for a minute and take a quick look. So 1.3, 1.9. 10%, 3%. Okay, so here's I-30. Here in I-30, what the time of shooting this video, we had a 1% tax. For the rev build, my corporation, what was actually going in my wallet for the build you'll see is 150,000. So I actually turn out to be one of the dumber people in industry on this particular issue, because we just had a 1% facility tax and we were making almost no money at all to combat the high fuel costs. You'll see, however, the real cost driver on this total build is a 1% system cost index, and you'll see that that's 15 million, 16 million for the build. That's pretty cheap. And then you have OP Tech. As we talked about early, OP Tech has a 3.19. Holy mother of bagels, that is a high cost. So they're at, before anything else is calculated, your build is already up at 51 million. As you'll see here, at 3.5% tax, facility tax, they're only getting 1.7 million for that build. It's pretty low. So on aggregate, when looking at those, you'll see that the facility tax really has nothing to do with the final value. And when we scroll back to eFICO and that crazy 50% tax, so here you have 58 million at, eFICO, final build 31. So Is it blue fucking what the guy in iFICO is doing? I have a hard time saying that that is, because when you look at the total job cost, he is well within the aggregate of currently what exists in Eve. Um, you can have good feelings about that, you can have bad feelings about that, but at the end of the day, out of the price pocket, you're really going to have to look at these system indexes, which is why when we really got into this and trying to come up with a formula of where does blue fucking lie, where does blue effing not lie, um, you're going to have to look at these total job costs and consider all of the variables in it. And at this time, and arguing about it for a number of days, when you try to put an upper percentage, raw percentage, on the station owner that's operating these and accounting for, coming up with a formula, it's really hard to determine. You kind of have to just go in on an individual basis, look at it. So for the moment, the I-Corps is recommending no limit on facility taxes, that there are more variables than just that have to be accounted for. So from a corporation alliance standpoint, line member builder, you're really going to have to go through and look at the industry screen and make some smart long-term decisions about where you want to do industry. You're gonna pay the price or not pay the price, and you'll see that the difference between I-30 and OP-TAC, that 15 million versus plus 50 million, that's a 45 million ISK swing on just where you decide to do business. And if a lot of people recognize a good deal and start moving to I-30, the system index will just go up like everywhere else, and it won't be such a good deal anymore. So this kind of has a new twist and meta on thinking about industry long term, and where corporations and system owners are going to position themselves. We're gonna probably run into this with moon mining, with industry, reprocessing, refining, because as you'll see, a lot of these other categories here have the same. They each have unique indexes for their particular systems, depending upon the jobs that are being calculated and run in that system. So there you have it, folks. Good luck on making these decisions. Be informed, learn the mechanics. It was really shocking to kind of run into the wall of there not being a consensus on how these were actually calculated, or recognizing that the index is the cost driver in this discussion. It's not the facility owner. The facility owners, in theory, could have 100% tax rate, and it still be at an aggregate regional value for the final build price.